Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining. We're going to go ahead and let everyone log in. We'll give it a few seconds before we get started. I'm really excited about the guest today, Mike Ealy. He'll be speaking on how to invest in hotels using your IRA. This is something different. We haven't had a guest speak on hotels before, so I hope you guys are as excited as I am. A few things that I need to mention. Here at NewView, we are not CPAs. We're not attorneys or financial advisors. We are actually non-fiduciary. So it's up to our clients to decide what asset class or assets they're looking to invest in. We don't solicit or suggest or condone any specific investments. It's completely up to you to figure out, do your own due diligence and figure out if that's the direction you want to take your IRA and that's the investment you want to make. So a few other things about NewView. So we are a regulated public trust company. We've been in business since 2003. We're almost at the $1.5 billion in assets under custody. So pretty excited about hitting that next benchmark. And our compliance office is located in South Dakota. Our admin office is here in Central Florida, in Longwood, Florida, if you're familiar with the Central Florida area, right outside of Orlando. A few things we do take pride in is the fact that we are simple to do business with. We will walk you through any documents or paperwork if you're not sure how to fill those out. And it's one of our documents. We can definitely help you with that. We're always available Monday through Friday. You can catch us from 8:30 a.m. Till 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of times we will stick around the office if we need to. And we are responsive. I mean, we actually get graded on not missing a phone call. If we were to miss it and you had to leave us a voicemail, we'll get right back to you within the same day. We like to build relationships with our clients because we're able to do that. We're not the biggest custodian out there. There's a little under 50 employed staff here at NewView. But that's the good part about it is when you call NewView, you know exactly who you want to speak with. You get to know us on a first name basis. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mike and let him take it away.
Hey, well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. Uh, and as we stated before, this is for educational purposes also, but I will say I truly like the self-directed IRAs. I myself have an IRA and I've utilized that tremendously. So congratulations to all of you that have participated and utilized your IRA, but it's a great way to manage your retirement, your investment, and be in control of it yourself. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And naturally, you're control. Here we go. All right. All right, today we're going to talk about three things. One, why invest in hotels? What's the big deal about it, and what are all the benefits? And then second, why invest in hotels now with COVID? I know you're like that's kind of scary now. Well, where there's fear, there's scare, there's opportunity. And we're going to talk about three different ways how you can invest in hotels. Well, who is Mike Ealy? Well, first of all, that's me right here, this guy, right? Nice with the nice little haircut, right? All right. I used to have long hair. I know you don't believe it, but I had hair to my shoulders. Now I'll just grow it out in the beard. All right. Been a real estate investor since 1999. I'm the CEO of Nassau Investments. We do over 1,200 apartment units. I have over 40 single family houses. We also have a educational group as well, the Nassau Investment Academy, where we teach numerous people across the country on how to invest in real estate, apartments, whether you want to be an active or passive investor. With our hotels and apartments, we have over $1.8 billion worth of hotels across the U.S. I've offered a book, From Broke to Millions, where I share my story on how I literally was doing real estate, lost it all, started all over. And we talk about the mindset and different avenues on whether you got good credit, bad credit, how to analyze deals. I share all of that. I'm a family guy. I love hanging out with the fam. I coach all the kids and all their sports, so I break away. Right now, we're in football season, and shortly, we'll maybe, depending on COVID, we may be in basketball. And I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. So great to meet you all. Now, why invest in hotels? Nick, will you hand me my phone right there, buddy? Yeah. Thank you. Or you do the math for me here, because this is very important. One of the great reasons you invest in hotels is simply because of cash flow. I mean, this cash flow is phenomenal for hotels. I mean, the demand, one of the reasons why the hotel cash flow is different, literally every day you can adjust your rate. So you have what they call an ADR, average daily rate. Where in apartments, you have what they call just the monthly rate, right? So for apartments, you're renting at, let's say, $800 or $1,000 a month, and that stays like that the entire month. Whereas with hotels, literally one day I'm charging 80, and the next day I could charge 150. Another day I can charge $50. So it all adjusts. And they produce more cash per room. So in this example here, you see what we have here, 100 units, right? You got a 100-unit apartment. Let's say it's a C neighborhood, okay? Because these hotel numbers, the mid-scale limited service is a little low, full service is a little high, and this is just a general number. You can get much higher average daily rate. But for 100 rooms, right? Am I reading this right? We can get over $1.64 million in income over a year period. 1.64 million over a year period. Whereas 100-unit, if I had stabilized rent, I could only get over $883,000. So another big thing is, let's even do even more simple. If I had this income, right, this cash flow, this net cash flow before debt, let's say it netted over $1 million, right? Let's just say, for the example, $1 million. Well, if I were to buy at hotel rates, well, hotels sell at 8.5 caps, right? So that means, because all we're doing when we buying apartments or hotels, we're buying cash flow. So if it's making $1 million a year and you divide that by 8.5 cap, that means I could buy this deal at $11.7 million, all right, for $1 million. But now apartments, they're selling at a much lower rate. They're selling at 6.5 caps. So I could buy that same cash flow for 11 million, right? But if I did it at a 6 cap, it would cost me $16 million. So almost a $5 million difference. I'm getting more cash flow, and I bought it at a reduced price. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we do hotels. Also, why you invest in hotels? Why, quite frankly, you're generating enough income that you can hire a very skilled staff, and therefore, I like to be this person on the right. Not saying I'm always laying out on the beach, but I'm always kind of working on the asset management and not the day-to-day active investing, managing the GM, the sales team, et cetera. You can have a very confident staff that can manage these projects for you and do them extremely well. So for those people who like to be hands-off investing, these are the type of deals where you can truly be hands-off. Also, while we invest in hotels, we do it with different franchise models. And there's been some hotels that have very successful models. Now, we all do all 4 of these brands here, the Hyatt, the Marriott, IHG. For those who don't know IHG, that's like Holiday Inn Express. We have a few other ones. There's also Choice Hotels, which Choice is famous for comfort suites. All right. But my group in particular, we like to focus on Marriott and Hilton brands, simply because, as I showed earlier, Marriott and Hilton's, although they have a couple of more fees than the other brands, they will sell at a better cap rate. So for example, an IHG product or a choice product, they're going to typically sell at a 9 to a 10 cap. Whereas a Marriott and Hilton, they're going to sell anywhere from a 7 to 8.5 cap. They can produce the same amount of cash flow. We can use that $1 million example again. But with the Marriott or Hilton, I will sell at a higher price. And that's another reason why we like Marriott and Hilton. And they got a better reservation system, meaning they got what they call a loyalty group of transient travelers or business travelers. Now, why invest in hotels now, post-COVID? Well, as they say in China, problem means opportunity in China. And so right now, CMBS, commercial-backed securities, which are these commercial non-recourse loans, they're defaulting right now at 50% in some cities. Currently, there's over 4,000 mortgages, hotels in default, strictly because of COVID. What you got reduced traveling, the market is much slower. And so because of that, some of these hotels are not even break even. Some hotels won't come back. But when you adjust, that is why we'll get much more hotels at a much more discounted price or favorable terms. And these hotels will come back. But there's going to be a different market in how you market these hotels. But for the most part, if the hotel was performing okay prior to COVID, it should come back post-COVID and resume its numbers over a 3-year period. But we'll go on to that. We'll get into that a little deeper later on. So what are some of the strategies on how to invest in hotel post-COVID? Number one, you got to buy low. Number two, we got to buy light. Number three, we got to buy right. Number four, buy new and manage right. Now, I don't know if I'm more excited about all these buy right and rhyming, or do I want a Bud Light afterward? I don't know. Buy all these light. I need a light beer. We got any Bud Light? Okay. All right. Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. Strategy number one, we want to buy low. You want to focus on hotels you can buy below replacement cost. So this particular hotel that you see here, there's an example of a home 2 suites. That was a deal where they were turning the property over. It was CMBS debt that they defaulted due to COVID. And one of the things where they were selling it cheaper than it was to build it. And this property is only 3 years old. Typically, it will cost about $125,000 to $135,000, what they call keys. So in hotels, they say keys. They don't say doors. They say keys. So it will cost you $135,000 a key to build brand new. This was able to be purchased at around $98,000 to $99,000 a key, almost $34,000 cheaper than building brand new. And you say, well, what's the difference? Well, if you were to build brand new, first of all, it's going to take you about 2 years to build the hotel. You got to go through planning. You got to raise more capital. You don't really know if the market exists. You can do all these detailed studies, but you still don't know if the hotel will be successful. And because of that, we're able to acquire this at a discount. Okay, so that's one thing. And when you buy below discount, you just created value right there. All right. Strategy number two, you want to buy light. You want to focus on hotels that can be acquired by what we call assuming the mortgage, taking over the mortgage. And what that does is conserves your cash. So let me go a little more deeper. So let's say the average hotel right now, if it's up and running, it's about a $10 million deal. So if you were to go to get regular bank financing, typically they're going to say they're going to give you a 65 to 75% loan to value. So in this example, for easy math, let's just say 70%. They're only going to lend you 70%. So if the bank's going to only lend you 70% on a $10 million deal, that means you need to bring 30% down, which means you need to bring $3 million to the table, right? That's a lot of cash. But if you're able to assume the debt, you can come in and take over the deal with just a small acquisition fee and some delayed penalties. So you could potentially pick up a deal, cash reserves, et cetera, for less than 12% down. So on a deal like this, let's say the total acquisition was 8 million. What was required? Only 1.3 million is required. No, 1 million is required to bring to the table to cover all the fees, escrows, et cetera. How much? Well, that's that 10%. That's less than, that's 800. That's a little over 11%.
Yeah.
12% down for a deal. That's unheard of. That's why, and there's tons of opportunity to acquire deals like this right now. As I say, in the Bible, it says it's raining manna. All right. Strategy number 3, buy right. Now, a lot of people, the deal is done on the buy, not the future. I know a lot of people, when they do deals, it's like, oh, in 5 years, I'll make this. No, you make money day one. You don't want to wait 5 years from now, like, oh, well, it's breaking even now. And then 5 years from now, it'll appreciate. No, you want to make sure you're buying below market value, not at cost, but below market cost. Because here's a couple things. Let's say it doesn't cash flow right away. Well, then you can still sell it because you're below replacement cost, right? So that's another strategy. But buying right, you buy the right brands that have higher margins, and you buy in the right cities, like tier 1, tier 2 cities, where there's diversified demand drivers. So for example, and even in COVID, this is an example where there's an acquisition of a Home2 Suites, which is what they call extended stay, where a lot of transient guests travel to. I don't know if you know, but in COVID, a lot of the hotels that are very successful right now are still performing are these extended stay models. Now, why that happened, I could tell you my opinion, but I still don't think that gives a great answer on why it's so successful. But the extended stay models have been doing extremely well through this COVID. The hotels that have been hurting the most are the ones that, one, depend on the business traveler. Why? Because the business traveler is not traveling, right? Matter of fact, they're reducing the business traveler is not allowed to travel. Matter of fact, the business traveler is working at home. All right, so everybody's not traveling anymore. And the people that are traveling are transient, and they kind of want to have their home away from home, as we'll say. And those have been doing extremely well. So, and if you're going to get into a deal, why not get into some of the great brands? And this Home2 Suites is one of the newer, lower end brands with higher margins. So that's another way of buying right. Number 4, buy new. Focus on hotels that are basically brand new, or what we call a PIP. Now, in layman's terms, for those who don't know, a PIP is the property improvement program. But in layman's terms, all it means is you have to do a renovation based on brand standards. So when you're in hotels, every 5 to 7 years, or when a change of ownership comes, they're going to require you to upgrade or do some type of brand standard. And it could be a small renovation. It could be a large renovation. They have what they call soft and hard. Soft, maybe you just do the lobby. Hard, you may have to do all 80 to 135 rooms, okay? So in this particular COVID, we're only buying hotels, or we suggest you buy hotels that need minimum renovation or no renovation at all. And as you can see in this picture, this is a newer hotel. It's only 3 years old. It won't have any CapEx or required renovations until about another 5 or 7 years. So what that means is you don't have to come out of pocket. So you can enjoy the cash flow on this project and then sell when the renovations are required. Number 5, manage right. Now look, COVID, if you're going to buy right now, you want an experienced manager to be able to manage these properties. Why? Because it's a challenging time. Everybody's not performing at its peak. So therefore, you're going to have to cut back on your staff and some of your expenses. So that's why we suggest if you do get someone to manage, work with someone that made it through the last recession or been through a couple of corrections. Because the hotel market can shift, but with this recession, this COVID, you're going to have to cover your costs until we come out of this market, which is projected to come out about March 2021. The reason why we say that the vaccine, because everything's based on this vaccine. The entire market is fragile. The economy is fragile until this vaccine comes out. Once this vaccine comes out, we can get in mass production for any manufacturing, traveling, et cetera. And so what happens in March, if it comes out, it's projected to come out of phase 3, the vaccine, by the end of October. So what that means potentially that the vaccine will begin to be in mass production in March. What that means, the public perception change. In layman's terms, people don't believe they'll get, well, if they do get sick, they can go to the hospital and get treatment, all right? So that is one of the things that we want to do. One of the things about the importance of the vaccine and the public perception. And so they're going to have to be able to manage that property tight until we get out of that. All right. Strategy. Here, is that a strategy? All right. 3 ways to invest in hotels. Option number 1, you can do it yourself and be what they call an active investor. All right. Or you can do option number 2, you can invest in REITs and passive. Or option 3, you could be a part of hotel syndications. I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know who is this guy. I don't know, but he looks like the guy from the, well, never mind. All right. So number 1, you could do it yourself. I mean, he looks good. He's got a nice suit on. You do it yourself. You could be a hotel owner. The pros about it, you're going to be highly profitable because you know what you're doing. You're in control. You're managing all your costs. But if you have not managed a hotel, one of the tough things are when you're dealing with brands and you're managing a branded hotel like a Marriott, et cetera, the hotel may not approve you for the franchise because of your lack of experience. Another con about it, banks may not lend to you if you don't have any hotel experience. So you're going to have to bring in a property manager. So those are some of the cons. And you're going to need a lot of cash up front, right? Because you're going to have to hire staff, you're going to have to bankroll that. And so it's challenging. Now, if you have experience, hey, go for it, but wouldn't be my suggestion, okay? Now, another way you could do it is you can invest in hotel REITs through the stock market. The pros about it's totally passive. You're hands off. You'll be like that picture I showed you earlier where they got the hammock and they're on the beach. That'll be you with a pina colada, all right? That'll be you on the sideline. And you can invest using your self-directed IRA, and it's highly liquid. So if you want to cash out, you need to get your money, you can pull down from it. So that's the plus about it. The con is it's highly volatile, right? You know, depending on how the stock market, how the current economy is going, you know, you're going to see a lot of up and downs, right? And you're going to potentially probably see lower returns versus investing in syndications, because when you invest in REITs, or at least the REIT group, when they're investing more for cash flow. So they're restricted on doing something that requires a lot of CapEx or a lot of renovation. The product needs to be completed. You know, you're investing in more of a turnkey. So you don't get to see a lot of the upside. So you're only really investing in it to a streamlined cash flow versus, well, we'll get to that one, versus a syndication where you could see a lot of upside. So you can still invest passively in a hotel, but just do it in syndication. Now, syndication is you're still investing, but you're more brick and mortar ownership, right? Instead of some stocks, right? The pros is totally passive. Again, you could be on the hammock again on the beach. You can use your self-directed IRA. And you could see higher returns versus the REIT, because if you're part of the syndication, most likely you're getting a pref or you're splitting a percentage of the equity, and when the thing's profiting, you receive part of the profit. And when it sells, you will receive part of the sales. Now, every deal is structured differently depending on what syndicator you're working with. Some deals are debt only, some are debt and equity. It just depends on who you're working with. One of the cons are you can be, it's tough to be liquid, right? No, typical deals last 3 to 5 years, depending on who you're working with. And again, you can use your IRA. Now, the one thing is, and you guys may have to help me, we'll talk about it, I haven't done it in a while, but the only concern I have, and again, I'm not a lawyer for educational purposes only, but you must be careful when you're investing in an LLC, is UBIT, unrelated business tax. Is that right? That's it? Is it UBIT?
Unrelated business income tax.
Oh yeah, unrelated business income tax. So those are one things, you know, talk to accountant and everything. But that's the only thing when you're investing in like LLCs such as that. That's the only concern. But naturally, if you got a good accountant, they'll walk you all the way through. Hey, so that's it. If you're interested in having a more conversation, you can email me right up here at the screen, mike@nassauinvest.com. We got a website. Again, it's nassauinvest.com. And they want me to get off the screen, I see. or you can do linkedin.com as well at Nassau Mike Ealy. Hey, we're going to open up for questions, but I'm here. What's happening?
Mike, that was amazing. Thank you so much for the content. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and open it up to any questions. Go ahead and type those in either in the Q&A portion if you can. Looks like we have quite a few attendees. So I did have my own question though. So typically with hotels, is it structured as like a syndication? Is that the most common types of structure you would see?
Yeah, basically. But it all depends on who you're partnering with, who you're working with. Yes, you could see it as a syndication. And I know some syndications do what they call a 70-30 split. And they may do it towards the investor. And if you have somebody that's more experienced, it flip-flops. It's 70 to the GP/sponsor, 30 to the investor. But typically, you'll see what they call a pref. In layman's terms, they clip you a coupon or a debt that you get anywhere from 6 to 9% in addition to your equity.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I have a question here. Can you expand on the syndication and the differences between a REIT and a syndication?
Good question. So a REIT is set up more where now there's private and public. So I'm talking more about public REITs that are publicly traded. With those, they're restricted. And so whether they want to do a $400 million asset base to $1 billion. So what that means is they combine so many assets, or they bind up to a certain asset amount to acquire hotels. But they can't have what they call a lot of CapEx expenses or a lot of renovation. It has to be what they call turnkey, and it's just moving smooth, right? No renovations, they're just managing cash flow. And typically they only get like 8%, and your money is spread out over multiple properties. So whatever those properties give back in return, and the manager is, they may have ownership as well, and they're taking a lot of management fees. Whereas a syndication, a lot of times you're focused on one subject property, and you, again, every deal's different, but a typical deal is like a 70-30. In our groups, we do anything from 70-30 with a 6-to-9 pref. Sometimes there's deals where we do 60-40 or 50-50. And you're also here where the sponsor will get promoted. So let's say it was a 70-30 deal, right? 70 to the investor, 30 to the sponsor. What happens if let's say the deal hits 12%, well, then the sponsor gets promoted. And if it hits a little higher, they get another promotion, where then it evens out to 50-50. But we like to keep it simple. And so we kind of do 70-30 or 60-40 or 50-50, depending on the project.
Okay. Is there like a resource website if somebody were looking for hotel deals, but that not publicly traded, more private?
Syndicated deal.
Where they could find syndicated deals?
Yeah, crowdfunding.
Yeah, if I'm interpreting the question right, where can they find other deals like this? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of crowdfunding sites. I can't think of the name. What is that? We were using all crowdfunding. I think it's called crowdfunding.
Yeah.
It's called crowdfunding. There was Reality Track, but I think that's not there anymore.
Most of the stuff trades under radar.
Yeah, but a lot of those are under radar. But the one of the more I forgot, it's crowdfunding. If you go to crowdfunding, just search that, you'll see a lot of the sites. And it's kind of one that kind of focuses on hotels. A lot of them really only do apartments and commercial buildings. There's only one that kind of throws in a couple of apartments.
Okay.
I mean, hotels, I'm sorry.
Okay, the next question is, on the infrastructure, hold on a second, looking more worthwhile than the outdoor? Okay, is the indoor pools looking more worthwhile than the outdoors in the hotel industry?
Well, I think what they're saying is the value of the pool. And a lot of people talk about that. So one, whether it's indoor or outdoor, really depends on your location. So if you're out in the kind of the south or the west where it gets hot, you'll see a lot of outdoor pools. So like in Alabama, Georgia, majority of them pools are all outdoors. And they're probably some of the older models. A lot of the newer models are keeping their pools indoors. Now, if you talk to some owners, they're like, man, if I could get rid of the pool, I would, because I don't want to deal with that maintenance. Me, myself, when I travel, I want a pool. I like to work out a little bit and take a quick swim, and I'm looking for that pool. And matter of fact, if I'm bringing my kids, I don't care how cold it is, they gonna want to jump in that pool, So that's why I look at it. Now, my partner Nate, he don't want a pool. He was like, man, no, man, if we could get rid of that pool, let's get rid of it. So, it's kind of a preference, but I have another partner that has a Hampton Inn, and he just totally hates that pool. He's always working on it, but it's an amenity that the Hampton Inn requires.
Okay, next question. Have your hotel syndications performed during the COVID-19 pandemic, or have you seen or had to suspend any distributions?
Yes. No, that's a good question. Yes, during COVID, depending on your brand, some hotels had stopped distributions. They haven't been at a loss, simply because they had a great deal of reserves. So that was the plus thing. I learned that at an early age. As your mom and dad used to tell you, save for that rainy day. Well, we saved for that rainy day. But some of the hotels have dropped tremendously. Hotels that were operating at 60, 70% occupancy, they dropped below 29%. Now, for most of you don't know, the realistically, I don't care what you're in a hotel, you really need to be right around 40% to survive, right? And some of these have dropped. And so with the PPP, they were able to stabilize. But there's some hotels like these extended stays, they may still hit their budget. And there's some hotels that like are destination areas like campground hotels or matter of fact, Nate, where did you just go not too long ago?
Yellowstone.
Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, in Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. They're killing it.
Yeah.
They're killing it.
300 a night.
And then there's some that's getting killed, okay? So, but there lies the opportunity.
All right. So the next question is a REIT a mutual fund that invests in real estate?
You could describe it like that. But again, they're different ones. You could have a REIT that all they invest is in multiple, like it's one fund that invest in multiple hotel REITs, right? Then there's a REIT fund that truly is managed by one group, and they'll go out and buy $1 billion worth of assets, and all the returns funnel back to the REIT.
Okay. Next question is, did you start investing with houses and then transition into hotels?
Yes, that's exactly. Well, a little more than that. Quick background on me. So I started off in 1999. I started buying a two-family. It was the first two-family I ever bought, and I didn't have a lot of cash. I didn't have credit, and I bought this two-family, and I renovated it, and I did what they call house hacking before they coined the phrase. And I thought I was rich. You know, the mortgage payment was $700. I got $500 from the top floor, got a roommate $200. I was living rent free, and I kept doing that over and over. And then I got up to what, 12 units, 14 units, 18 units. And then I lost it all. And I moved back home with my mom and dad, and they painted my room pink and lavender. And they had these purple roses. And I'm 30 years old, man. It was so sexy. And but through that journey, I learned how to do short sales. I learned how to buy distressed assets. I was buying non-performing notes. And so when the Great Recession came in 2008, I actually became stabilized, and that's what catapulted me into multi-units. I was buying non-performing notes. I was restructuring deals for people because I myself went through these short sales. I did that for other people. People were in bankruptcy. I restructured the deal. I actually saved investors that were going to lose their money. They brought me in, and I was the fix-it guy. And from there, we went into multi-units. And in 2011, we were buying deals at $4,000 a door to $13,000 a door. And for those who get an idea, at $4,000 a door for a 48 unit, that was $220,000, which this thing was worth 1.6. I bought it for 220. We were all in for 450, so roughly $8 a door. I sold it for, what was that, 30, 40, 37 a door, right?
Yeah, 1.65 million.
1.65 million. We netted $1 million, and we kept doing that year after year after year. And then I was like, I did what they call the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. We got to go big. And we started buying hotels.
All right. Interesting. I like that story. You talk about how, you started off, and, everyone has to fail in order to bounce back and recover. And, you learn your lessons and you bounce back with a vengeance. So I love that. Do you personally invest your own cash in your syndications?
I have. Not all deals we do, but typically in our deals, there's some upfront capital that we wouldn't put our investors' money at risk. So when you're doing a hotel, now this is pre-COVID, but typically on a hotel deal, you would need anywhere from 250,000 to 750,000 to get to the closing table. You say, whoa, that's a lot of money. And what are you doing? Well, number one, you got your earnest money. And that could be anywhere from 100 to 250,000. No, actually, that ranges from 100 to $500,000 for earnest money only. Then you have what they call your franchise fee. That's about $175,000. All right. And then from there, you got legal fees. That's another $30,000, $40,000. So at any given time on a deal, I can have 250 to 750,000 out before we even close the deal.
Oh, wow. Interesting. The next question, I'm going to go to answer that one for you. How can I invest with you? Mike's contact information is there for you. If you wish to take that one offline and talk to him one-on-one, feel free to reach out to him. That's why his contact info is there. Let's see the next question. Okay, how will you keep the hotels you acquire operating if the travel market stays reduced after the vaccine in March 2021 due to COVID?
Basically, how are we going to survive? Yeah, a great question. So in order to survive this COVID, you got to build up the reserves. I wish I could tell you that we got this great marketing plan, which we want, you still want to go, but two things are going to happen. One, you're going to change your market over to the more transient traffic because quite frankly, the business traveler, 15% of that market will most likely be gone. It's not going to return. I mean, just look at it. I mean, companies are sending people home to work from home. There's massive layoffs. And that's been consistent. Like you got United Airlines and Delta and multiple companies where they land anywhere from 4 to 15% of their staff. So that was one way to regulate that. But so therefore you got to transition your market towards that. And that's why we like these extended stays because they transition towards that transient traffic. But quite frankly, yes, we build up, and when we're buying these new deals, I wish I could tell you that we're going to go in, we're going to market this, we're going to sell to these people, and I'm going to cut costs. No, the true secret is you bring enough cash reserves for what we call the burn until the market comes back. And when it does, we're going to get hit with what they call inflation because inflation comes from supply and demand, and we're going to have so much pent up demand that the dollar is going to rise. They're not going to increase the interest rates. Therefore, values are going to be much higher as well. And so your average daily rate that was at one point just $100 a night or $110 is going to shoot to $135, $140 a night because of the demand. And you're going to have hotels going offline. So the formula is buy low, bring some burn money, and hang on for the ride. And when we come out of it, it's going to be a nice win for everyone.
Okay, my last question. Is this only limited to accredited investors?
I'm going to say yes, but there is a non-accredited fund. If people are interested, well, let's just say this because it's educational purpose, right? But there are accredited and non-accredited funds, and it just depends on the syndicator that you're working with.
Okay, perfect. Well, that wraps up all the Q&A. Thank you again, Mike, for all that good information. The Q&A portion was amazing. We had some really great questions. If anybody wants a recording of this webinar, it'll be posted on our blog page by end of business day tomorrow. And if you wish to download our e-guide, go ahead and text capital SDIRA to 484848. And if you could put your first and last name there, that would be great. If you wish to speak with Newview one-on-one, you can contact us at 407-708-1853. Either myself, Jonathan, or Lisa will be more than happy to speak with you one-on-one. You can also email us at info@newviewira.com. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone, for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey,
Thanks,
thank
Mike.
you so much. Talk to you soon. Thanks for the opportunity. All right, do we got any questions?